I played Ultron from Gold to Grandmaster. This was a journey and no easy task. This took endurance and forced me to adapt my playstyle across the different ranks, but gave me the opportunity to figure out what to do in so many different scenarios in solo queue matchmaking. That's kind of why I wanted to make this video, to not only show you the journey from Gold to Grandmaster, but also talk about how you could be playing Ultron in these ranks. Carry your team and create value, because I have to say, he is not bad at all. In fact, I think he might even be a little bit better than the community may think. So let me drop this Ultron knowledge on y'all in Gold, Platinum, and Diamond, so you can climb yourselves. Or if you're just here for the entertainment, sit back and relax. We're about to go down a journey. Our story begins in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. Our journey begins here at Gold 3. I had a spare account I used to play on in Season 1. This account got hit by the rank reset, and it fell all the way down to Gold. This was a perfect place to begin the climb to Grandmaster, especially with bans starting in Gold this season. This account's name is Arise. It's in Korean because someone already took the name in English. If you know Sung Jin Woo from Solo Leveling, then you know why I had to pick this name. I think in consequence of choosing this name, some players genuinely thought I was a player from Korea. But despite this, I turned on streamer mode and loaded up rank. Playing in Gold was probably some of the most fun I had during this climb, because later on in the journey, it gets tense.
I swear, I need to start banning Ultron, bro. I can't.
But I was glad to start from here as Ultron, because this was a good opportunity to see really how far I could take the character and determine for myself whether he's actually good or not. I queued into my first match on East Grimoire Convoy, and I have to say I was surprised. I was scared for my team. We were defending directly next to the objective on defense, pretty much next to their spawn, exposed without any shield and out in the open. If this were a game in Grandmaster, we would have been wiped on principle, but that didn't happen here. Fortunately, my team was grouped up, so it made my drone's job easier in healing everybody. It was at this moment when a flanking Scarlet Witch tried to wipe my team, where I realized two major mistakes in Gold that players were making. Mistakes that I could capitalize on as Ultron. 1. Players in this rank put themselves in bad positions away from their team without even realizing it. As Ultron, with decent tracking, I could punish these players for making this mistake and being too far from their team. The second mistake I noticed is that enemy strategists weren't healing each other. They weren't turning around to check on their team, and they weren't thinking about their teammates flying above. But what does that mean for me? This means free damage directly onto their backline, where I know this hurts their team the most. So I just focused my ray onto their strategists when I saw the opportunity. Even if I don't KO them, I know it forces them to take cover, which is less time healing their team. With my drone sitting on an ally, contesting their space, my job was fairly simple. However, I had problems of my own. My own teammates would forget to heal me sometimes, so I had to adjust. My role as Ultron is important, so I can't just leave my team to get health packs. I instead started looking at my teammates as the health packs. All I had to do was put my drone on them and stay near them, and I would get healed. While this may seem selfish, I don't have to rely on my own strategist to heal me. I could create the space to play in for myself. I just had to think of my teammates as anchors that I could use to heal myself when I needed to. Having another flyer helped so much because it let me play around in the space that they were occupying and create angles where Ultron works best. So my tip to Ultron players in Gold is your drone is the way to heal whoever needs it, but also you can heal yourself. This is why you should think of your team as your team, your army, and your advantage. Remember when I said Gold players make the common mistake of putting themselves in a bad position? This is why Ultron is so good to have on a team at this rank, because you press a button on that player who's in a bad spot and boom, now they have healing and they can play in that space that they want to contest, just at least long enough for them to reposition somewhere better, safe, or just to save their life. I also realized that peeling for players was much easier here. It's important to check behind, up, down, and all around to keep tabs on your teammates, because as Ultron, you need to think about what's happening outside the view of your screen. I'm not going to pretend my imagination can fill in what's happening outside these bounds. So that's why you need to check yourself periodically. Just turn around, look down, pay attention to where your team is. If you're missing someone on your screen, odds are they're somewhere else. Other than that, I pretty much just played like a duelist who could heal their team. I actually ran into a fun group in gold that I kept matching with and against. And honestly, everyone had a good time. Being excited to play with my Ultron,
Dude, that is the greatest Ultron I've ever played with.
and even against my Ultron, I had a boss battle with this Stormlord in gold, which ended up being one of the most hyped matches I'd ever played in a long time, and even contributed to one of my 10 losses. Shout out to you, CEO of Costco. It didn't take too many matches before I climbed out of gold and ranked up into platinum, where I had to adapt again and learn new things as Ultron to get ahead. Our journey continues here into platinum as Ultron. I knew that to reach diamond on this character, I might need to adapt in some way different than how I played so open in gold. What that was, I didn't know yet, but I would soon come to realize it. My first couple Ultron games in platinum were a little bit more tense. I noticed players began counter swapping to Punisher and other hit scan. Players were pulling out dive heroes like Hulk, Captain America, Venom. Players had a little bit more teamwork and understanding. Most notably for strategists. Love to see better strategist ultimates at this rank, but despite this, I knew I had to step things up just a little bit. I realized how I used Ultron's ultimate would be the key to give me the edge I needed to carry my team. Up until this point, I was just using my ultimate to combo with my team or fire at groups of enemies clumped together. But this began to be a waste compared to how I started using it later on. This whole time, I was using his ultimate wrong, and whenever my team was wiped, was a reminder that I was using this ultimate wrong, or using it too early, and costing us the fight. And there's another thing about his ultimate. There is a delay. From the moment you press the button to use his ultimate, there's a short delay before he even begins firing. And I was pressing this button too late, which meant that I had to see the moment I needed to ult. No, we're gonna lose. Before it happened. I needed to press Q before my teammate was critical, or before the point of no return. So instead, I focused on using his ultimate to save vanguards or strategists, because I realized that losing either one of these roles on my team was always a domino effect, leading to us losing the fight. It depends on the scenario, but if I knew I needed a certain hero to live for us to win, I had to ult to save them and not take the risk, even if it was just one person I saved. Another thing I had to begin dealing with was counters. Cover became more important than it was in gold. Punisher and Hela players weren't just going to let me exist in the sky anymore. I had to be better, which is why a lot of the time I was firing my shots from behind cover, just poking for a second or so, poking out of cover, shooting, poking out of cover, shooting. I couldn't play Soul in the open. I had to respect my counters, but also recognize them as targets that I needed to get out of the fight. I didn't struggle at all really, because, they were my counters at platinum. But these are the things I want other platinum Ultron players to think about when they're playing. Every single bit of damage I dealt mattered. If teammates weren't going to peel for my strategists, I will. If we couldn't take down the enemy flyers, I'll do that too. This was my team, and I had to think of them as props to a board game. A fire lit within me, and I was climbing. I had to apply pressure. I had to destroy every penny nest, every squid, every rocket amplifier. Suddenly, I felt like a true duelist and an Ultron the enemy had to respect. I was bringing the age of Ultron. After a hard-fought climb through platinum, I made it to diamond. But then I ran into a problem. Fatigue. I was tired. I'd been playing straight from gold to diamond for several hours. I didn't know if I had it in me to keep going, but then something in me relived the past couple hours and joy I had climbing with Ultron, thinking about the true question to whether this character was truly good. This question still needed to be answered. So it was right then and there when I decided that I was hitting GM right there tonight. So I loaded the game back up, and it was time to prove I could do it. Time to prove that Ultron was good enough. But once again, I knew I would have to adapt and evolve. Grandmaster was near and in sight. Now was not the time to take a break. I had to keep going. Diamond is where everything comes together and where true skill and understanding wins games. Right away, the games were different. I noticed strategists were helping their team a little bit more with abilities. The enemy was pushing up together, and there was actually some real strategy here. My teammates were hitting their shots, they were making plays, using their team ups, and I knew I was going to have to step it up even more if I wanted to carry and climb as Ultron. Now that my teammates are focusing targets and using cover, this only unlocked more opportunities. The first thing I had to get used to was playing against dive. I needed to think about what my role on the team is against the dive comp. And honestly, it's a perfect blend of supporting your team and doing damage. Playing against this was the most locked in I had to be. I picked up an important understanding of his movement ability playing against these teams. First, that his movement ability gives you some bonus health, which is important and worth saving for when you actually need it. And that while in this movement mode, you can be aggressive because you're slightly harder to hit if you strafe in air. Healing from my other strategists while using my death ray to do damage on their attackers, the urgency in damaging the right target at the right time was more important than it had been all night. But I also realized I was in a unique position to see the bigger picture and pressure other targets that were normally out of my teammates' reach and view, because as Ultron you can create off angles so easy that your teammates normally can't. So my first couple games in Diamond were pretty good, and I had only taken like one loss because of one toxic teammate. Then it was my rank up game for Diamond 2, when I ran into my first obstacle, Hela. This Hela was the first one to really start hitting their shots and taking me out. She just kept on flanking, so I had to adapt. I started getting lower to the ground, taking cover, but even then, they had a good Ultron player, and no matter how hard I tried to keep my team up, it was not enough, and I took another L. Was it still worth it? Did I have to continue and push for this insane goal? Of course. This was not the time to slow down. It was the time to kick it into overdrive, to drive this home. And in Diamond, I realized one of the most important things about Ultron that would change the way I played him all the way into Grandmaster: his ultimate charge. Ultron has one of the fastest strategist ultimates to charge in the game. In fact, I think it charges maybe a little too fast. Once I realized how quickly I could charge his ultimate, then my focus came down to pressuring targets and farming that ultimate. Being able to use his ultimate almost every team fight was crazy and eye-opening. I could pump out ultimates more often than Luna Snow. This was a major advantage and something I needed to capitalize on. So I made sure to keep farming my ultimate, poking my counters, and peeling for my team. Everything was falling into place like perfect harmony. This is what all the games before this was building up to. Pocketing my divers so they can spawn trap the enemy, wombo comboing my ultimate together with my teammates, using cover and hugging corners to stretch my life as long as I could, and doing as much damage as I can. I thought Diamond was going to challenge me and challenge my conception of this hero, but that's not what this was at all. It was a straight arrow up. One of the biggest win streaks I've ever had, with 8 straight wins in a row. By the final match, I had done it. I really did it. I actually hit Grandmaster, playing Ultron only from gold. And it only took me a rough cumulative of 9 hours to achieve. With that being said, it's time to give you my thoughts on Ultron. After playing him so much in a ranked environment across 3 divisions, he is 100% a good pick, and there are plenty of instances where he works out pretty good. The fact that he pokes anyone he wants at any range to do decent damage is crazy. His ultimate charge is much faster than other strategists, meaning you can get your ultimate before they can, and this could lead to big potential plays. He works extremely good with dive heroes, enabling them, making it harder for them to die, and he himself is harder to hit in the air, forcing the enemy to pick to other heroes that are more suitable to dealing with you. If you're ever in a situation where you feel like you're not getting healed, or there's not enough healing going around, but you also realize you still need damage, then Ultron might just be the good pick for you. This video was more than just a bunch of tips this was a journey. Let me know if y'all would want to see more. And if you do, be sure to like and subscribe to the video. And if you want to watch me play live, go follow my Twitch and stop by my next stream. And I'm curious, would you guys want to see the full unranked gold, the Grandmaster VOD? I don't really talk that much in it. Honestly, I'm pretty quiet most of the time, and I don't even have a camera on, so you can't see my face. It'd just be raw gameplay. Would y'all be interested in that? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. Those of you who stop by my Twitch and follow, I notice every single follow, so please stop by, man. I want to talk to y'all. Take it easy, and peace out.